Our city is already big. It has massive transportation hub right in the center, a big downtown with big skyscrapers and all kinds of other amenities, infrastructure and all the little things between. But it is still missing one very important thing, and that is the highway network. I was adding to it here and there in some previous episodes with a couple of interchanges, but it's time to finally make it whole, at least around the main part of the city. So today, let's take a look at the main highway ring and finish it. This means building at least 3 interchanges, all heavily customized ones, of course, because standard ones are boring. First, we need to build one right behind the government center. Next, after the tunnel leading to the 3-level stacked bridge. And between these two, the third one, which is also going to connect into another new highway leaving the map. That's quite a lot of work, so let's start. This first sub-project of today, the interchange behind the government center, is gonna be that, but also just the expansion of the city. We are going to wrap up the government center and do some low-density neighborhoods just past the highway to really finish the city in this direction. So I'm going to start with this interchange, of course. I kind of need to establish all the roads, the loops, and then all around it, I'm just going to do some details, do some more buildings and those kinds of things. So with this project, because by the way, it was really a lot of work to put together these 3 interchanges. Obviously, lots of trial and error, just planning all the connections and everything. So I'm going to do it like this in the time lapse. I'm going to show you more or less the entire thing for the first interchange, but for the next 2, I'm kind of going to be skipping a lot of that because I'm just going to use exactly the same techniques. So I'm only going to leave in the important stuff, but not exactly all the details. But anyway, so as you can see, I'm using these highways. So that's the Metropolitan State Expressway Pack, or MSE for short. They are very similar to the Shuto expressways. Back in the day, I downloaded these because they had some sort of advantage over the Shuto highways. I think I was explaining that in some previous videos. I don't remember anymore, but these are just great. These are probably the best highways if you want to very heavily fiddle with node controller. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, I'm doing that over here. Obviously in Asturis, I'm using the node controller 2, the older quotation marks one, the one that's a little simpler, I guess, even though it allows you to do pretty much everything, and it's kind of unlocked with all the changes. Or node controller renewal has been obviously updated over the past couple of years quite significantly, but yeah, I'm just using NC2 over here. The reasons for that is I obviously started using the NC2 very, very heavily before node controller renewal was even a thing, and you can transfer between the 2 mods. I mean, you can only do it one way, from NC2 to NCR, not the other way around. And but the settings don't transfer fully. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The simpler stuff like corner offsets, those do transfer quite well, but the more complicated stuff that's only possible in NCR through the freeform mode, that's actually not going to be transferred all that accurately. So if I wanted to transfer in Asturis, I would just have to go over every single node or network in the city where I did use NC2, and I would just have to fine-tune it and basically redo it in NCR. And I'm absolutely not prepared to do that. So that's why I'm using NC2. Unfortunately, these days, for these kinds of projects, for highways, NCR is so much better, because I'm going to be able to, in NCR, do all those straightening of the nodes ends with just single clicks and, these kinds of things. So yeah, in here, I'm kind of, just doing it the hard way. I was about to say struggling, but not really, because I got plenty of experience with NC2. But anyway, that's just a lengthy explanation of that. In Altengrad, I am obviously using NCR because I was not using node controller in general that much there before I started making the highways. Yeah, but nowadays, if I was using NC2 still in Altengrad, I would probably not do the switch anymore. By the way, the next episode is going to be from Altengrad. The next video is going to be from Altengrad. And then I'm going to be there. I'm going to be building some more highways. And you will see the comparison, I guess, because in there I'm going to be using NCR and I'm going to be doing some really, really crazy stuff with it. So, well, stay tuned for that. Anyway, back to this place. So, what is this interchange? So, I think I was doing this on the stream and you guys called it the bicycle interchange. It kind of looks like a bicycle from a certain angle, this kind of a view, I guess, with like really big wheels, some kind of a racing bicycle maybe. But I guess it's a trumpet interchange in a way with just displaced loops. They are not in that standard position as they should be, but they are just a little displaced. I wanted to create some kind of compact interchange in this area to not really overshadow the government center. I do have a lot of space in here, so I could have done something bigger, but this is absolutely fine. Now, one big feature of this interchange, it's a three-way interchange. It's just basically a highway exit into that main avenue going into the city center. But I also wanted to include some kind of like a rapid entrance into the government buildings from the highway. So that's exactly that little road that just connects between the highways. It's a two-way road, so it is possible to actually go to it even from the city side. You are basically just going to enter the interchange, but just before going into the loops, you're just going to turn towards the government center. And there you can loop around the little parking lot there on the top and just, continue on the highways or return back into the city. So all these directions are possible. I'm thinking that this upper, by the way, this is going to have two levels. And this upper level, that's going to be for maybe like intercity buses and just people arriving from the highways. They don't really want to touch the city. They just want to go to the government center. So they can do so without, contributing to the traffic inside the city or in the city streets, city avenues. This second level or bottom level, that's going to be the parking lot for cars arriving from the city. I'm thinking that below the government center, because the government center is raised, of course, this main avenue is sunken in the entire complex. So there are probably going to be many entrances, down below into various kinds of like maintenance places or like resupplying bays and these kinds of things. And probably even some entrances to parking garages for, just civilians. But there's also going to be this parking lot in the open. Why not? Parking lots in these kinds of projects are kind of a nice way to just fill a bigger area, especially these kinds of like clunky shapes that otherwise would not really take any structure or, it would have to be like very heavily customized. Now, so that's that. I'm using the same technique as always for these parking lots these days. So that is using the curbless roads. Even though this one is the asymmetric curbless road, which means that it doesn't have the curb only on one side, on the inner side, I'm going to clip off the terrain using the clipping surfaces, and then I'm just going to fill it in with the ploppable asphalt, turned into procedural objects, and recolored to match the color of the roads. And that's going to be that. So that's the bottom level, that's the parking lots. I'm going to put cars and everything later in there. It's kind of like I said, it's kind of a weird shape, so I'm just going to detail the cars there manually. Now, there's also this tram track. Actually, this place was supposed to look completely differently. Initially, I was thinking I'm going to turn this tram towards that upper level where I eventually built that smaller parking lot, and it's just going to have a tram stop directly in front of that lower government center building. Now, that plan kind of fell apart when I was building that interchange because I did not really have any more space in that area. So I decided that I'm going to just build a tram loop inside that highway loop. I'm just going to make these make these tracks go below the highway, and it's just going to loop around there, and the tram stop is going to be right here over that main avenue. So I need to make it elevated like this and do just pavement surfaces on the side. Of course, this is actually going to make it very convenient because it's going to be sunken this place has a lot of levels, by the way. So it's above the main avenue, as you can see, but it's below the surface of the plaza, of the entire main surface of the government center. So I can do the entrances into the buildings, and even like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing in here. So below these things into the concrete walls. So then I can just build the invisible pedestrian paths throughout the entire complex. I don't even need to touch the surface, but I am going to resurface with these roads in various kinds of places, from the buildings, like away from the tram station. And this tram stop is actually going to be really busy, which is surprising because it's the edge of the city. Usually these kinds of tram stops are not all that busy, but this one is for some reason. But to be fair, I did crank up the numbers of, I'm not sure right now, but I think that the main government center buildings, I think I eventually turned them into residential, if I'm not mistaken. And I did crank up the numbers of households there. So, yeah, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people needing the public transport. Now, in this lower government center building, that's just next to this place that I'm working on right here, this building, I'm going to put those office cubes inside because this building is otherwise a unique building. It's kind of strange because it's like sub-buildings, lots of them, so it doesn't exactly work, but I'm just going to put a lot of the office cubes inside, so that's also going to attract a lot of people. There are even a lot of cars going from the highways in here, so yeah, that's absolutely perfect. I'm really glad that this place is going to be alive just as I build it. Right, so like I said, this upper part is supposed to be like a drop-off place, like a quick drop-off place for people arriving from the highways. So I did like taxi stands in there and just placed a couple of buses waiting at that parking lot to just indicate that, that place is also for buses. And then I just placed all these cars around, so now you can finally see those parking lots in action. There were just some kind of empty blocks around here. I just filled that with buildings. I had a very convenient triangular shape right there, so I obviously had to fill it with the only triangle building that I have. I think I placed it in the city already, but if I have this shape between some infrastructure things, then I obviously have to use this particular building. The rest of the place is just going to be filled with trees because trees are nice, and I really like the contrast in these outskirtsy areas with like concrete and trees, these kinds of retaining walls and trees. So that's just great. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, all the pedestrian paths. Just make sure that all of these prop doors and entrances are used. And as you can see, there are already pedestrians going all around that upper level. These are the cars that are just entering this level. That's very nice. Even though, for some reason, a lot of these cars are just trying to do a U-turn on the highway. It's kind of like a dummy traffic. It enters the highway system, and at the same point, it just wants to just return there. Yeah, so I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, this is another one of those like combinations of greenery and concrete. I just really like it. It's just creating this jungly look, jungly feel with all the palm trees around as well. And yeah, those vines hanging there on those surfaces, vertical surfaces. That's just great. It's a lot of work, unfortunately, but the results are definitely worth it. Well, anyway, that was that for that little place. Now I'm just going to fill the rest of this area past the highway and, be done with it. This is going to be a very straightforward thing, so I'm just going to do another pond, because I already have a few ponds around this area. That's just going to complement it nicely, and then I'm just going to pretty much copy-paste one of these, medium to low density neighborhoods. Going to use exactly the same roads, exactly the same buildings, and then just enclose it all in just forests, in a jungle. I'm also going to do some sort of pedestrian paths, yeah? Oh yeah, I already built them in here in the time-lapse. As you can see, it's connected to that park area next to the pond and the government center and that new tram stop. Actually the tram stop is going to be used even by people living in these neighborhoods. So, that's taken care of. Right, that's that. Now we are going to move to that second interchange. And with this one, before I start building it, I actually first need to complete the highway ring itself. So I'm just because this was just not done at all. When I was building that stacked bridge over the one of the rivers, I just did like a temporary, very ugly, dirty connection into the city, and it was just there to connect it, to have traffic on the bridge, right, for the cinematics and everything. But right now, I actually need to do this tunnel entrance properly below the ridge to the bridge. And then I just need to do the rest of this highway ring over this valley. Now, this first interchange is going to be right here at the start of the tunnel going into the highway bridge. And it's actually also the place where we have the tunnel for the high-speed railway. Those are the concrete tracks that you can see there in the time-lapse above. So that was kind of like an obstacle that I needed to somehow bypass. It's a little strange, like geometrically wise, strange area. Also, I don't really have a lot of space, at least like to the left of the highway from this view. And I also need to think about some like city expansion, all of that. So I definitely don't have unlimited space, yeah? But at the same time, it's not that bad. So at first I was thinking of doing some kind of like an ordinary trumpet interchange. Then I was actually starting to think about some different project, like a city expansion, and I figured this place must be a four-way interchange, but not like a complete four-way interchange, but, well, it basically needs to be a three-way plus like 3.5, yeah, something like that. It needs to be, it needs to have just proper three-way connections, which is basically the same that we did before for that first highway interchange today. And then it needs to have another exit, but it doesn't need to have all connections. It doesn't need to have connections to the city, because that's going to be taken care of somewhere else. And it doesn't need to have connections to one direction of the main highway ring. It only needs to have connection going back and forth, or exits and entrances, into this tunnel that's on the left from this view right now. Well, I'm kind of moving the camera around, but you can see the tunnel, right? Past the high-speed railway, the one going to the bridge, yeah. And because the third interchange we're going to build today, it's going to take care of that different direction, all right? It's kind of confusing. You're going to see that in the cinematics, I promise you. Well, anyway, so what is this interchange? What is this interchange? What is the type of it? I guess it's kind of like a stack interchange in a way. It's not a trumpet interchange anymore because I'm going to build it on 3 different levels. So all of these main ramps are going to have their own levels. So that's kind of like the 3-way stack interchange, Y interchange, or T interchange, something like that. It's probably called in real life. Now, I am doing this loop over here, though. That's not exactly part of a standard looking T interchange, is it? Well, that's actually going to be for that like 0.5 connection, yeah? Not exactly the full connection. Because there is also like a huge elevation difference. I need to do loop just to gain the elevation, because it's actually going to be like an entrance for trucks, mostly, into some kind of industry, okay? I don't want to spoil it too much, the next project, but yeah, it's going to be an industrial themed project. I'm also using the industrial vanilla road from the Industries DLC there, as you can see, and I'm just splitting it into the directions and then connecting it into this loop. Like I said, that industrial road is only going to be connected to the main highway going to and from the tunnel. So I don't really need to overdo it with all the ramps and everything. It's already quite complicated interchange, this one. I think that this one actually took me the most time, even though it's probably the smallest and the least complicated in a way. But, you know, the planning definitely took a long time, and doing all of these like, you know, ramp merges and splits and all of that. Anyway, that's done with that interchange. Like I said, I'm only going to show in this time-lapse the first interchange build in more detail. With these ones, I'm kind of going to be skipping over it, just showing you the most important bits. Now, there's also a city part that was just left unfinished. That is exactly here, basically like a wedge between the high-speed railway and the rest of the city that was already built. Right down below, as you can tell by these tram tracks, there is that train station, the normal train station that we built a long time ago, and these tram tracks were just left without going anywhere. Yeah, you can see the train station there on the left with that green surface. So this place, by the way, these Bronx buildings right there, you did not see me place those in any of the videos because I actually had to place them like really quickly, really roughly for the first person tram ride. Otherwise, the tram would just see the unfinished areas. So I obviously could not have that. So I just placed those buildings very quickly there. And now I'm just going to properly finish off this block. It's a tiny block, really. I just need to play with some elevations. As you can see here, I need to somehow make these tram tracks go underground. But yeah, that was kind of easily done. I played with the already existing tunnel entrance of these LRT tracks, so I just put the roads around it to kind of enclose it. And now I'm just going to put super random buildings all around here to really fit this, fill this place, and do this important connection into that like a hillside area, because that was actually disconnected from the rest of the world. There was only that temporary highway entrance, like I said already, but yeah, this is finally finished. This block in here, yeah, this Apollo building is fitting that perfectly. It's like partially below those high-speed tracks, and then just some kind of offices. Really not gonna bother with this place anymore. Gonna put some graffiti there on that retaining wall next to the train tracks, tram tracks, because I don't think I've done that in the city yet, and I did download some, so, you know, gonna do that. Probably gonna see that in the cinematics maybe, but definitely gonna see that in some first-person rides of that line. Anyways, now for the third highway today, a third highway interchange today. And actually another highway as well, because that's going to be, as you could have seen there with Network Multitool, I was just putting together another, this time the fourth, I guess, highway that is entering the city from the direction of this valley. So every single valley, every single coastline is going to have a highway converging into Asturis eventually, because obviously Asturis is a very important city. It has the space elevator. It's kind of the center of the region, I guess, or the country where it's from. So it really needs to be connected from all sides. So, you know, the high-speed railway, normal railways, and obviously with the highways. So this just makes sense that we built it. This interchange, I probably have the most space available for this interchange. As you can see, there's nothing. It's completely flat grass over here. Not even trees, nothing. So, you know, I could have just built something crazy on a huge area. So I obviously decided on a very compact interchange instead. Now, I decided on this, I don't know, Y interchange, maybe it could be called. It's not exactly like a very typical design in real life, because it requires the separation of heights on the single directions, and then you are going to do these left turns actually going from the left side of the highway, not turning right and like looping around or something like that you might see with some like more typical designs. This is going to save a lot of space, but it's also going to allow me to have many more connections, because I also need to connect the lower, the ground roads. So that is the main avenue going into the city, and also some kind of country roads that are later going to be important, yeah? And also that industrial road that I was already building with that second interchange, the previous one today. It's kind of starting to be a little complicated, isn't it? Well, anyway, so that's a lot of roads on the surface that I would need to connect to. So if I did it like with ramps and loops and everything, it would be like, I don't know, 6-7 way interchange. That would be a bit too much, right? So I'm just going to help myself with the roundabout down below, and these highways are just going to connect into it. I'm kind of splitting this into two entrances to the roundabout. By the way, what I'm doing here is that one entrance to the roundabout from one direction of the highway, and then just like asymmetrically going back to, or going into the roundabout from a different highway. Yeah, it's kind of a complicated one, this one, yeah. So if you really want to know how this interchange works, I definitely suggest you to just wait for the cinematics and then probably stop the video and just take a look at all the ramps. Where exactly are they going? Yeah, this one is built on many different levels because of the design of the Y system, I guess. So it is a little complicated, although it did not really take a long time to put it together because I have a lot of space in here. I was not really limited by anything, so I could have just, built it like I wanted to and just, do one ramp, figure out the next connection, and just, sort of like build it as I just went forward. Yeah, I did not really plan it completely from the start. It just sort of happened on its own. So, that's nice that it actually worked like that. Oh yeah, and there's also going to be another main avenue connected into the roundabout, as you could have seen, mostly just to make the roundabout a little bit more symmetrical. Yeah, so the roundabout eventually has how many? 5, 6 roads going into it. Yeah, that's quite a lot. Well, anyways, that is done. So there is the before and after transition of this first area. As you can see, there is this small tunnel that I finally completed. There are the train tracks that I finally detailed with all the lights and the third rail and the pond and the low density areas. And we finally completed the government center. So it finally has that like a back entrance for all the buses and cars arriving from the highway. And of course, the highway connection from the city is also complete through this interchange. Yeah, all the parking lots. There is that statue inside the tram loop with the rotating pyramid, which for some reason is like a very important thing that I needed to build on the live streams. So there it is, finally. And well, we finally have traffic as well on the highways. So the traffic is actually going to be much heavier after I finish the last highway, which I did not today. Today I only did the highway ring around the mainland part. There is still one highway that I need to complete off the map. And after that's done, then we're going to have some serious traffic on the highways. And I already built it, yeah, when I'm making this commentary right now. So I already know how that's going to look. And it's going to look great, okay? So you will see that in some future episodes. This is the finishing part of that highway ring over this, around this part of the city. There is already some serious traffic on this highway, for example, so that's really nice to see, because this is like the very, very critical entrance into the city from this direction. So this highway interchange, even though it's not particularly big, is super important, probably the most important out of all of them, and it's just having all the cargo delivered in the city from that direction. This is that third highway interchange. This one, unfortunately, right now did not get that much traffic, but that's going to massively change. I think even in the next episode, when I'm going to be working around this place, connecting those industrial roads. That's one of them is leaving this roundabout. You can see it there on the bottom. And the second one from that previous interchange as well. Yeah, this is going to be that cinematic that you might want to pause and take a look at all the ramps and all the traffic flow. Where are the cars actually going? If you are just, interested in the workings of this one. Right, so that's going to be that. In the next episode, I already hinted, some kind of industrial project. It's going to be huge and it's going to be kind of crazy. I did not do anything like that in City Skylines before, even though it's going to be like a style that I already established in Asturis, yeah? So I'm kind of being a little cryptic in here, but I really don't want to spoil it too much. It's going to be great, yeah? So stay tuned for that and make sure to watch it. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked this highway building, then please do all the things below the video, clicking, writing, subscribing, sharing, and huge thanks to channel members who are directly supporting me in what I'm doing right here on this channel. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your support. Take care. Goodbye.